So, you want to see everything while your enemies see nothing. You want to be able to destroy a team from behind while outgunning them from the front. You want to be a space ninja. Hey everyone, I'm Lego, aka Logoli Flash. I normally make more creative videos, going for movie of the week, more fancy editing stuff, but I've been recently playing with this Nightstalker build that I feel really comfortable with, and we went on a we played like 35 games the other night and only lost one game, even in the entire time actually, in the flawless playlist. And so I had a lot of people see the clips and be like, when I go in Viz, I can't do this kind of stuff. Or, how do you get that fusion rifle shoot so far? How do you even use Witchender like that? So anyway, this is a guide on how to be the best invisible space ninja you can possibly be. It's great for solo play. It's great for team play. I'll go over some of that. But the key factors are the new Graviton buff, Graviton forfeit for Hunter, bottom tree Nightstalker, combined with Witchender. Now there are other ways to do this. I was using Omnioculus before this, which is great too, and has a lot of the same benefits the Graviton forfeit has, but it just doesn't last as long, and so the things that you can do are limited, but there is still some reason to use it, because as soon as you throw down a smoke grenade with Omnioculus and you're with your team, you immediately get it back. But for this video, I'm just going to focus on Graviton Forfeit. I'll go over some of the armor and mods that you can use, and then the weapons, and then just some general tips. But overall, what this allows you to do is play a gigantic mental game with your opponents where you hold all the information and hopefully you deny them all the information or just cause chaos. So let's get into it. So I'm going to focus on Way of the Pathfinder, bottom tree, Nightstalker. You can definitely do this with top tree and do more Drewski-like radar manipulation with the smoke grenade rather than turning yourself and your teammates invisible. But I personally prefer playing with my team and just the paranoia that you can create by either making just yourself invisible or your entire team. And I feel like I get my smoke grenade back often enough with this build, and you'll see in a second what I mean by that, to where you can do it just as often as with top tree. And on top of all of that, you also get some huge buffs. If you didn't know this, Way of the Pathfinder gives you Heart of the Pack when you make yourself or your teammates invisible, so you're also giving this to your teammates. And Heart of the Pack gives you a huge increase in handling, along with basically plus 30 mobility, recovery, and resilience for every stack that you get. It's insane, actually. I can't believe not more people have talked about this or are talking about this, but it's like a huge perk to running this path. And the fact that you can give it to your teammates is crazy. But yeah, you're making yourself invisible, you're making your teammates invisible, or you could choose to, just throw the enemy team off and do one or the other depending on what round you're on. So the armor and mods for this, I go with the Graviton Forfeit. I mentioned before Omnioculus. Let's just focus on Graviton Forfeit here. I aim for 100 mobility and 100 strength. That's really the baseline. If you have those things, then you will pretty much, with the rest of this build, you'll pretty much always have a smoke grenade ready to go, make yourself or your teammates invisible. There is an argument to be made where you could have less mobility and you don't need that much because you're getting Heart of the Pack that's buffing your mobility most of the time. But there are just some rounds where you start where you don't have your smoke grenade available to you, and in those scenarios, you want that high mobility just constant. That way you get your dodge back, that way it helps you get your strength back. I do run and this is really important for me, I run the perk where if you dodge you get your melee back rather than just reloading your guns, because that is the most important aspect of this build. Some other mods that help you out, Powerful Fence and Radiant Light. You definitely want to be running those because they give you plus 20 mobility and plus 20 strength basically for free. Also, I recommend running Radiant Light because it only costs, I think, 3. Powerful Friends is 4. So Radiant Light, you can run that on your class item along with 2 outreach mods that also help get your melee back through getting your dodge back. So every time that you dodge, you'll immediately get a little buff to your melee. On top of all of this, there's also the new stasis perk, specifically on the stasis gauntlet. I've been running these on my Titan for PvE stuff, but I'm just now incorporating it into this build as well. The melee kickstart and grenade kickstart on the stasis gauntlets. So anytime that you throw your smoke grenade, you'll immediately get some back. So my loop of doing this is basically I throw down a smoke grenade, it makes me invisible, you get heart of the pack, it starts regenerating, everything you have starts going a little bit faster, basically giving you a kickstart, but then your melee kickstart stasis gauntlets will also give you a buff, and then I dodge immediately, and that the outreach mods will help boost that melee energy up even more. Now, when you go invisible, Graviton Forfeit is giving you about 12 seconds of invisibility. So that's a ridiculously long time. So basically, as soon as you're done with all of this I've described stacking on top of each other, that 12 seconds is done, you've got another smoke bomb ready to go. And even if you don't, you for sure will have your dodge ready to go again within that time frame. And if you're nearby the enemy and you dodge, then you get your smoke grenade back immediately too. And if you're not near an enemy, then, you know, then the outreach mods will help you get it back too. Now weapons. Weapons. This is, I just can't express enough how much I am in disbelief that not more people are using Wish Ender right now. It's key to this build for me, and hopefully you'll see why by the end of this. But I just feel like people are sleeping on it. Yes, it's kind of slow. Like it's not the best handling. It's not even the stickiest. One of my favorite bows out there is Biting Winds from Europa, and it just every time I shoot that thing, it feels like it's 100 aim assist. Wish Ender does not feel that way. If you miss, you're gonna miss. You'll feel it. But it has some majorly awesome things about it. Number one being you can see through walls. You have wall hacks, and this is wall hacks all the time. You don't have to get a headshot like Middle Tree Nightstalker. You don't have, be crouching or any of this crazy other stuff that you have to do with other see-through wall hack exotic perks. This is just a free, you see the enemy team all the time. And you can pretty much, just reset that arrow whenever you want. You don't have to have Oath Keepers or run anything like that. It feels perfectly fine by itself. You might have to get used to reloading an arrow here and there so it doesn't just shoot off on its own. But it's just so powerful to be able to see the enemy team at all times. And some ways that plays out is you can, even if you're not the best shot, you can make callouts to where the enemy team is. You see all three in dark and you're like, all three are in dark. Two of them are looking at you, teammate A. One of them's looking at you, teammate B. I've got teammate A, I've got enemy A distracted. You can make these callouts even if you're not playing the best with your Wish Ender. You have the information to make callouts or make a play. So another way that this plays out is while you're invis for that 12 seconds, and even before you make yourself invis, you can kind of see where the enemy's at to see what your approach should be. Or while you're even going, you can draw that arrow and it doesn't take you out of your invisibility. And so you can see the enemy, but they cannot see you. And this helps you on your approach determine, are they looking this direction? Can I make a push right here without them seeing? Because even though you're invisible, you're not like invisible. They're gonna see you if you run straight at them. So you still wanna come up behind them, but you won't be on radar. I'll go over some radar stuff in a little bit, but let's just focus more on Wish Ender right now for a second. Some extra things about Wish Ender. I don't use it necessarily as my primary while I'm engaging with an invis flank, but I do use it a lot in a pinch, and there are some benefits to using it over other bows. Number one being for me that it over penetrates, and so if you shoot an arrow at two targets, it goes through both of them. If your teammates are in the way, it will shoot through your teammates and still hit the enemy. This is super nice. There are times when you won't be able to flank. There's just not a flank to be had, and you just need to use Wish Ender to, make a pick. Shooting with your teammates, and so you can do that, and you can pick just the right moment to just budge out from behind cover to take that shot without getting picked yourself. And if the other enemy team is lined up just right, you can hit two at once. Another bonus is that this is only a 2 body shot kill weapon. It only takes 2 shots. So you can peek real quick, shoot that arrow, get back, and you don't have to hold it down the whole time for full damage. You can just literally just pop out, pull that string back just a tiny bit and let it basically, just fall towards the enemy and it will still do full damage. So you do not have to have that bow at full strength. I do this all the time whenever I'm just in a really close fight. I run out of fusion ammo and need to use that Wish Ender real quick. It's great for that too. But for me, the big thing you need to really make these pushes to come around and just obliterate the enemy team is the Cartesian coordinate of rapid fire fusion rifle. This is what I use to really just... the enemy team just has no idea what has happened to them. When you've done your homework with Wish Ender, you read where they are, you come around the corner, they're all in a rift, they're all hiding behind a barricade, and you have the time with that rapid fire fusion to destroy 2 of their teammates just immediately, and then you can switch to Wish Ender, your team comes in and helps you out, finish off the third. Usually all 3 are not together, but even if they are, you have the advantage. You are behind enemy lines. You're ready to go. So some other things that you can try, you don't have to use a fusion, you can use a shotgun, you can try a sidearm. Just for me, the extra range that a fusion rifle brings just feels great. Previously, I did use this last season with Omnioculus with a high impact fusion, but I could not come close to pulling off the plays I can pull off now because rapid fire fusions are just so fast. So give it a try over a shotgun if you're feeling up for it. But if you are a shotgun user, I mean, by all means, if you're, a slug shoddy main, that would be great for this build as well. Now, some tips on how to approach, how to best utilize your invis, how to best utilize these weapons, these perks, everything together. So, knowing when to approach is huge. As I mentioned before, Wish Ender can help you set up how to approach. You can kind of navigate, okay, they're both looking at B, one's looking at my teammate, pushing A, I'm gonna go C, and I'm not gonna be on the radar or anything. Now, there will be times where they're just, like, say it's round 3. You've flanked twice. You can't flank a third. They know what you're doing by now. So then it becomes a manipulation game where you make yourself invis and engage with your teammates, and they expect you to be around the corner. They don't expect you to be with your teammates from the front, and so you have that extra firepower, that extra information that they don't have. You're always trying to stay one step ahead on the mental game, and there will be times where that happen. Or even, you could team shot with your teams first. Just switch it up every round is what I could recommend more than anything. I've just started switching it up. You know that you can't do the same thing over and over again. It's not a surprise anymore after the first or second time, and so you gotta approach from a different angle, or you gotta approach with your teammates. Or one thing that I've found really interesting is making my teammates invisible, or making all of us invisible, or just 2 of us invisible, or just me invisible. Like, there's so many different things you can do within a match to keep it from getting stale, and honestly, it's pretty fun, like, just to switch things up and try things different every time. It feels great to go around and do a flank, but you just can't do that every time. So maybe do it first round, then stick with your teammates, or choose a different route the second round, and then forget about it for a bit. Just team fire with your teammates, and then come round 4, round 5, go back in for the flank again. But use Wish Ender. Know what the enemy team is looking at before you push in. I think the times that this build is the worst is when you just push in. Like, I see myself making those mistakes where I just push in even though I know this is risky, I shouldn't do this, and I think you'll feel that too. So just try to be smart about it. Use the tools available to you. There's so many tools here with Wish Ender to know what the enemy team is doing. Now, sounds is another thing to pay attention to. I'm not talking about the enemy sound. Yeah, that's one thing you should always pay attention to. You've got Wish Ender, you can see what they're doing, but you want to make sure you're not making any sound. And you want to make sure you're not showing up on the radar too. I'll get in a little bit more into radar stuff, but sound stuff is something that I think we all overlook. When a hunter double jumps, you can hear that. When you throw your smoke bomb, they know when you're trying to go invis. So you can mess with that as the rounds go as well. You can, they'll hear that smoke bomb and then you don't push, and then you do it again, and then you do push, something like that. But also, you make sounds when you jump, when you know, if you slide. So you got to be careful. Even though those things won't take you out of invis, if you're jumping over, like this last week, the map, there was the jump over to B, depending on what spawn you were at, and I had to choose, you know, not to double jump. If there's a little cliff you can get on, so you can run and jump rather than just double jumping, they can't hear you coming. So play around with that. Make sure you're not making any sound as you approach, because they'll turn around and they'll shoot you in the face. Radar manipulation, as I mentioned several times, is huge. You know, there's top tree Nightstalker that you can use for radar manipulation with the smoke, but there's also a lot of things you can do to play with the radar here. So if you're in Viz and you're running, when you first start running, you ping up on the radar. However, if you just keep running, you do not ping on the radar anymore. If you're walking, you do not show up on the radar. So what I do a lot of times is I run as close as I can before pushing in too hard, and then I walk. I just bot walk the rest of the way until I see the enemy team and get close enough to take a fusion shot, and at least get one pick. So radar manipulation is huge. You can also use your teammates as radar manipulation. Sometimes I choose not to make my entire team invisible, even though I can with the smoke grenade, because I want them to show up on the enemy radar. I want them to distract them. You're trying to manipulate the enemy team, create chaos, and not let them know where you are.
They're sitting back a little bit, like in the very back corner. The very back corner.
Now, I think I covered communication pretty well earlier. That was going to be another area of my tip. But yeah, I just want to reiterate, constant communication to your teammate. What are you doing? What is the enemy team doing? Just in normal PvP, you should be communicating these things anyway, but you just have an extra tool to communicate that your teammates don't have. You can constantly see, not only see where the enemy is, but who they're looking at, who has their attention. And so use that to your advantage and communicate that to your team. Okay, I think that wraps up everything for this build. I am absolutely loving it. I cannot express how much I love this build, how surprised I am that more people aren't running Wish Enders. I always feel like I can outgun another bow, even if, you know, I play out my whole build, use my fusion rifle to pick two teammates out, and then they've got a bow user and I have to go bow to bow with no fusion ammo. I just feel completely confident taking anyone down because I can just peek and take my shot, and just 2 shots is all it takes. Headshot, body shot, doesn't matter. You can take them down. So yeah, Graviton Forfeit, fusion rifle, Wish Ender. This is the Invisible Space Ninja. Really hope you enjoyed the video. I haven't done something like this since Twilight Garrison came out in Taken King. That's how long it's been, years since I made a breakdown video like this. That was more, and even I don't even think I've ever made a breakdown video. That was more of a review. This is like full on, this is how I'm playing. This is what I use to help me out. So let me know what you think. If you enjoy this kind of thing, maybe I'll do it more. I really enjoyed talking about this stuff. I don't have the podcast Razocast anymore. I don't really have an outlet to really, you know, dive deep into anything, into any builds or any way that I'm playing or the things that I love. I love this game. I love talking about this stuff. So if you enjoyed this and want to see more of it, I mean, I'm considering making more. This was fun to put together, and I hope you enjoy. Let me know. Thanks. See y'all later.